This is 6 News. Our top stories this hour. Annastacia Palaszczuk resigns as Premier of Queensland and from Parliament, saying she's given it her all.
This is my final press conference, so thank you very much for coming. It's been a great honour. Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a safe and happy time, and God bless. Thank you.
Also this hour, the UN warns half of Gaza's population is starving and nowhere is safe as the death toll since October 7 approaches 18,000. And Anthony Albanese says Australia's migration system is broken, now set to announce a plan to bring migration back to sustainable levels. Good evening. First, that breaking news, and Annastacia Palaszczuk has announced her resignation as Premier of Queensland and from the Queensland Parliament, effective before the end of the year. She was elected to the top job almost 9 years ago and says she's given it her all, with a party leadership election set for next week to decide on her replacement. National Affairs editor Austin Pollock begins our special coverage.
Leo, after 9 years as Premier, she will retire from politics. Annastacia Palaszczuk, the second last of the COVID-era premiers, will be no longer in charge of the state from next week, with a successor to be chosen on Friday. Palaszczuk, who has usually kept composed at press conferences, was physically emotional as she announced her departure earlier on today, Sunday, making the sudden but not unforeseen announcement. Take a look.
When I led this party from an opposition of just 7 members, I said that the first election would be like climbing Mount Everest. I went on to climb that mountain twice more. I don't need to do it again. I have given it my all, and I've run a marathon. Standing here today with these flags alongside and standing up for the people of Queensland has been an honour of my life. I will finish this week, at the end of this week, as Premier. And the next Premier of Queensland is for caucus to decide on Friday, giving MPs time to come back. And soon the people of Queensland will have their say. I have fought the good fight, I have given everything. But now is the time for me to find out what else life has to offer. Oh, look, I've been thinking about it for a while. Sorry, I wasn't going to get upset today. I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's the right time. And it's time for renewal. It's, I have a great deputy in Stephen Miles, and I believe he'll make an excellent Premier. We have a great treasurer in Cameron Dick, and he is one of the best treasurers I've ever seen in this state.
Now, after joining Parliament in 2006, Palaszczuk quickly rose amongst Labor Party ranks, becoming a minister, first for Disability Services in 2009. After Anna Blight's 2012 election landslide loss against the LNP, Palaszczuk became leader of the opposition. Queenslanders quickly warmed to her before just managing to win the election in 2015. Since then, she was re-elected in 2017 and in 2020. Throughout her time as Premier, she saw many a challenge and also many achievements which she will leave behind in her legacy as 39th Premier of Queensland. She won from opposition against Newman in 2015, was the first female Premier in Australia to win from opposition. Now, she also led the state through COVID-19, as we know. However, the most controversial part of the pandemic restrictions were the state border closures to much of the country for long periods of time. And she also oversaw and is considered to have led the way for the 2032 Brisbane Olympics bid. Now, as of late, youth crime and ambulance ramping have put some controversy on her legacy, with these issues highlighted as reasons for slipping support for her government. The latest polling done for 9 newspapers shows opposition leader David Crisafulli increasing the preferred Premier margin over Annastacia Palaszczuk 39 to 34%, with 28% undecided, while the LNP primary vote is at 37%, while Labor at 33. The state election will be held in October. Attention now turns though to who will replace the Premier. It's believed to be a 3-way contest between Health Minister Shannon Fentiman, Deputy Premier Stephen Miles and Treasurer Cameron Dick, all highly praised by the Premier today, although she specifically endorsed Miles, which is pointing towards him being the 40th Premier.
Stephen has been a fantastic, steadfast deputy. He is strong. What you see is what you get from Stephen, and he is compassionate as well. And I've worked very closely with him, especially during COVID, and that's for the caucus to decide, but I will be giving my strong endorsement to Stephen Miles to be the new Premier of Queensland.
Messages from leaders across the country have been flowing in since the Premier made her announcement, both at a federal and state level. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese saying she retires as a Labor hero, a three-time election winner, Australia's longest-serving female Premier, and above all else a champion for Queenslanders. Albanese adding Anastasia's leadership brought Queensland Labor back from the political brink, and on so many occasions since then her government has put Queensland in the position of national leadership. Now, the state opposition leader has also weighed in on X, saying regardless of politics, 9 years as Premier deserves acknowledgement and respect. I want to thank her for her service and wish her well in her retirement. Now, rumours and leaks from sources had been circulating for some time now that the Premier would be replaced. However, those rumours were quickly dismissed by the Premier herself and other members of the government. Now, last week, 6 News exclusively broke that there were talks underway to replace Palaszczuk before the end of the year, with Labor sources telling us the party was either way at the next election. When 6 News contacted the Premier's office about these claims, we were told to reveal the source for a response from the Premier. We did not do that. Some doubted that the rumours would be true, but we now know they are. The Premier will depart politics, which will also be triggering a by-election in her seat of Inala. That seat is located southwest of Brisbane and has been a very safe Labor seat, only challenged once, but always retained by Labor and always retained by a Palaszczuk. Anastasia's father, Henry, was the previous member to hold the seat. The seat at the 2020 election was very safe, with a 78% to 21% in the two-party preferred. So a major day for all of Queensland, the Premier making the sudden announcement to quit politics just 10 months out from the state election. But after 17 years as a member and 9 years as Premier, Annastacia Palaszczuk will no doubt leave a long-lasting legacy behind.
We'll have more on Annastacia Palaszczuk's resignation a little later this hour, but the Israel-Hamas war now, and the United Nations has warned nowhere is safe in Gaza amid hundreds reported killed daily, with society on the full brink of full-blown collapse. The Deputy Director of the UN's World Food Programme says only a fraction of supplies needed have been able to enter the Gaza Strip, and 9 out of 10 people cannot eat every day, with half of Gaza's population starving. As of Saturday night, more than 140 Palestinians were killed and 160 injured in a 24-hour period, the total death toll approaching 18,000, currently standing at 17,700. Homicide detectives believe a deliberately lit house fire was linked to a woman's death in Calangur, north of Brisbane. Police say initial investigations indicate a man allegedly stabbed a 31-year-old woman multiple times at an address around 7 p.m. on Francis Court before she left the scene and collapsed a short distance away, later dying at the scene a short time after that. When emergency crews arrived, they found a house fully engulfed in flames with a man located a short distance away and taken to hospital with critical injuries. 3 crime scenes have been set up as police continue to investigate circumstances surrounding the incident. If you're someone you know needs help, you can call 1800 RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says Australia's migration system is broken and will now announce a plan to bring migration back to sustainable levels. The PM says we need to have a migration system that enables Australia to get the skills we need, but to make sure the system is working in the interests of all Australians.
We had a once-in-a-generation review of the migration system by Dr. Martin Parkinson, the former head of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. And it found that it was a deliberate decision to neglect the system and that it was so badly broken, according to Mr. Parkinson, it required a 10-year rebuild. Well, we are determined to fix this. The
full details of the immigration overhaul will be unveiled next week. Cyclone Jasper is set to cross Queensland in the coming days, currently sitting in the Coral Sea. Although it has been downgraded, residents are being warned to prepare for the worst. Our very own Austin Pollock, very busy today, has more on the ground from the Queensland State Disaster Centre.
Severe tropical cyclone Jasper, currently situated around 1,000 kilometres east of Cairns, is slowly moving towards the Australian coastline as a Category 2 system as of Sunday, with predictions the system will make landfall in the coming week. Now, in response to the imminent threat, a rescue helicopter successfully evacuated 4 Bureau of Meteorology scientists from a remote weather station on Willis Island, situated approximately 450 kilometres off Cairns, which was in the direct firing line of the cyclone. The Bureau does predict, though, the cyclone is expected to weaken over the coming days.
At this stage, a tropical cyclone watch may be issued as early as Sunday. but this will be highly dependent on the movement and development of the system. There is still a considerable amount of uncertainty in how strong and where the system will track over the coming days.
Our planning is well advanced. All our resources in Queensland Fire and Emergency Service have made plans and are checking equipment in the event of this cyclone crossing the coast next week. The State Emergency Service and our Fire and Rescue Service swiftwater technicians are all ready to deploy.
This is not a practice, this is not a drill, this is the real deal.
The latest modelling predicts that the likely crossing point is somewhere between Cape Melville and Cardwell, including Cairns and Cooktown, although other scenarios, including a more northern crossing, are still possible. Something that North Queensland is no stranger to are these cyclone conditions, with Jasper set to bring damaging and destructive winds, heavy persistent rain leading to flooding, and a huge storm surge along the coast, which could be particularly dangerous if it crosses on a high or king tide. Queensland Police Acting Deputy Commissioner Shane Kelpsey has issued a warning to households north of Mackay to prepare their emergency kits. Now here at Kedron, the State Emergency Centre has raised the alert level. The preparations underway from Mackay to Cairns, and emergency services on standby for deployment to areas affected by the cyclone.
So our plans are well advanced, and when we get a little bit more certainty as to where the cyclone may cross, we'll be deploying additional resources into those areas to help the local emergency services in the event that this turns nasty.
Cyclone Jasper, the first tropical cyclone to form in Queensland waters in December during an El Nino year, has led to panic buying, leaving supermarkets' shelves bare. School holidays plans have also been disrupted as the community braces for the approaching weather system. The Bureau predicts that the Cyclone Jasper will intensify into a Category 3 or higher just before it makes landfall on Wednesday. State Emergency Services Northern Director Darren Camp emphasises preparedness, stating the plans for potential movement depending on the cyclone's trajectory. Forecast king tides from Tuesday to Sunday heightened concerns for storm surge related inundation. Cruise itineraries are being revised and several ships bound for the tropics have been directed. The Bureau of Meteorology emphasises the need for vigilance as the cyclone's intensity may fluctuate. Bomb meteorologist Dave Grant has highlighted the anticipated heavy rainfall, posing an increased flooding risk in some areas.
We are in severe weather season now. Our current climate outlooks do indicate generally warm and dry conditions across Queensland. We've seen already some significant bushfire activity across the state. We're now during spring and into early summer, so we are now in our transition period where we do start to move from our bushfire season into the storm and cyclone season. And yeah, we are now starting to move into December, so we are in cyclone season as well.
Severe weather conditions are expected statewide, with ongoing monitoring for potential floodwaters and the abandonment of severe heatwave conditions in specific regions. The Queensland outlook remains predominantly dry over summer, however the potential for rain and flooding does persist. The system is continuing to move slowly towards the Queensland coastline.
Donald Trump remains the Republican Party frontrunner for the 2024 US presidential election following the fourth GOP debate, which he did not attend. A new Wall Street Journal poll has found that Joe Biden's political standing is at its weakest point of his presidency, with voters favouring Trump for the first time in a head-to-head contest. 6 News North American correspondent Wyatt Sharp has the latest.
False. She said, I want your name. She as President of the United States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do.
I said we were going to get the millions.
One of several key moments in Wednesday night's News Nation GOP primary debate, where Nikki Haley became a clear target of the other candidates. Asked whether or not they now perceive Nikki Haley as a bigger threat, Ken Cuccinelli of the DeSantis Super PAC denied the claims.
So we don't really size them out that way so much as distinguish ourselves on issues. I described the transgender issue.
Entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, who is seeing his polling numbers decrease, predicts a surprise in Iowa.
Next milestone is January 15th in Iowa. And many of our voters are not the traditional GOP old Iowa voters. And so I predict we're going to deliver a major surprise on that night.
And despite the debate, former President Trump still way ahead in the polls. Hogan Gidley, a former press secretary to Trump, says it was once again a politically smart move by the former president to opt out of the debate.
I don't work for Donald Trump right now, currently, of course, but it would be political malfeasance to tell anyone who's up 50, 60 points to come to a debate and watch everyone try to attack them. So regardless of who it is, I would never tell them to be on that debate stage, which creates a problem for those on the debate stage because what they're trying to do is surpass someone who isn't here. And so it's tough to go head-to-head with a person who is not on the stage.
And now the focus turns to the two debates hosted by CNN next month in January in both Iowa and New Hampshire as the Iowa caucuses near closer. Reporting from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Wyatt Sharp, 6 News.
Well, returning now to our top story, Annastacia Palaszczuk has announced her resignation as Premier of Queensland and from Parliament effective before the end of the month. Here's a bit more of what she had to say at a press conference in Brisbane.
There are close to 300,000 more jobs in Queensland after the pandemic than there were before it. Thousands of Australians are moving here for more opportunities and a better life, and you can't blame them. That economic strength means we can help people with money off their electricity and things like free kindy that's going to start next year and free TAFE. Plus, we've started the biggest infrastructure building investment our state's ever seen, including 3 new hospitals and 3,000 new hospital beds. Queensland is in good shape, which is why now is time for me to leave. I was raised believing in the dignity of work. When I took on this job, unemployment in parts of regional Queensland was 11%. Now it's under 3%. Our future is brighter than it has ever been. Our jobs and energy plan will see us transition from coal to renewables, mining all the new energy minerals the world so desperately needs. We've started making things in Queensland again, like trains in Maryborough, giving the future of regional cities. So much for the future. I'm also proud to have led a government of women that values women, that gave women the right to choose. During the pandemic, I had press conferences nearly every day, alongside the Police Commissioner and the Chief Health Officer, all women. And I think during those COVID times about all the people's lives that were saved. So, if you were wondering, I turned my mind to this when I was trying to have a holiday with my partner, and everyone deserves a break. Finally, last week, my mind was made up at National Cabinet. I was sitting there thinking, this is the 4th Prime Minister. There are all these new faces around the Cabinet table. We got a great deal for Queensland, $4 billion, and I thought to myself, renewal is a good thing. When I led this party from an opposition of just 7 members, I said that the first election would be like climbing Mount Everest. I went on to climb that mountain twice more. I don't need to do it again. I have given it my all, and I've run a marathon. Standing here today with these flags alongside and standing up for the people of Queensland has been an honour of my life. I don't believe anyone who comes after me will know how humbling it is. To travel this state and meet so many amazing people. I will finish this week, at the end of this week, as Premier, and the next Premier of Queensland is for caucus to decide on Friday, giving MPs time to come back. And soon the people of Queensland will have their say. I have fought the good fight, I have given everything, but now is the time for me to find out what else life has to offer. I'd like to thank my mum, my dad, my sisters, my nieces and nephew, most of all Reza and his family, for all their love and support. They're looking forward to having me home. Thank you to my Cabinet and my staff. Thank you to the Labor Party, to all of our frontline workers, but most of all, thank you to every single Queenslander. Sorry. It's been the greatest on my life, and our best days are well and truly ahead of us. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Oh, look, I've been thinking about it for a while. Sorry, I wasn't going to get upset today. I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's the right time. And it's time for renewal. It's, I have a great deputy in Stephen Miles, and I believe he'll make an excellent Premier. We have a great treasurer in Cameron Dick, and he is one of the best treasurers I've ever seen in this state. Did you think about it when you were in Italy on that trip? Because you came back from that trip and I had a break and I felt refreshed and renewed, and I honestly thought that I had renewed energy and I gave it everything. But I've got to the end of the year, I've been to National Cabinet, that was the turning point, and I just feel now is the right time. I just absolutely feel it's the right time. I've run this marathon, I've had discussions with Mark McGowan as well, and to be down there at National Cabinet and not have all those friendly faces around as well, it's time for me to go and do something else.
Was it the internal pressure that was getting to you?
No, not at all. Look, I'm pretty tough. I used to have 7 LNP ministers yelling at me on a daily basis at press conferences during COVID. No, next year would have been 9 years. And look, a week in politics is a long time, but can I tell you, 9 years feels like an eternity.
Do you still have the support of Gary Bullock, though?
I still have the support of the entire party and the Labor movement, and I just want to thank them. It's been a great honour to be the leader of this party, but I've done nearly 9 years as Premier, 3 years before that as Leader of the Opposition. Before that I was Transport Minister. I've dedicated my whole life has been to community service. There's no greater honour.
Do you have any idea of what you're going to take looking to do now? What the next step is?
I have no job. So come January, I'll be also finishing up as the member for Inala at the end of this month as well. But look, I think I will be out there promoting Queensland in some form of capacity. Look around you. This state has so much to offer. There's buildings everywhere, the transport systems, we're making things in Queensland. Like, honestly, our best days are ahead of us. And what has inspired me most is the people that I've met out and about, whether it's in Western Queensland with the wild dog fencing, in Maryborough where we're making trains, whether it's the free TAFE up in Cairns where I met, in Townsville where I met the nurses, the copper string line we're building, underneath the Brisbane here, Cross River Rail, and of course the Olympics. The Olympics and Paralympics sets this state up for decades to come.
What's, sort of touched on it before, looking at the legacy you'll leave behind,
Yeah.
what do you think it'll be and what you'll...
That's for others to decide, but we've had a very strong record of economic growth. Like I said, the economy is the best in the nation. All these jobs, coming into office when unemployment was, so high and now it's so low. The investment in our schools, the free TAFE, skilling Queenslanders for work. We stopped sand mining on Stradbroke Island. There has been so much that has happened, but for me, meeting the people of this state, and can I say to everyone, if you see me out and about, please come and say hello. Don't be a stranger.
You mentioned Stephen Miles.
Yes. Stephen has been a fantastic, steadfast deputy. He is strong, what you see is what you get from Stephen, and he is compassionate as well. And I've worked very closely with him, especially during COVID, and that's for the caucus to decide. But I will be giving my strong endorsement to Stephen Miles to be the new Premier of Queensland. Look, we've got everything set up. Everything in this state is set up for such a bright future. I'm absolutely committed to ensuring a smooth transition, and the building blocks are all there. It's up to the next person to make sure that that building continues. Okay? This is my final press conference, so thank you very much for coming. It's been a great honour. Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a safe and happy time, and God bless. Thank you.
Let's get a recap of the top stories we're following now here on 6 News this hour. And as you've just seen there, Annastacia Palaszczuk has announced her resignation as Premier of Queensland and from Parliament, effective before the end of the year. She was elected to the top job almost 9 years ago and says she's given it her all, with the party leadership elections set for next week. And the United Nations has warned nowhere is safe in Gaza amid hundreds reported killed daily, with society on the brink of full-blown collapse. The Deputy Director of the UN's World Food Programme says 9 out of 10 people cannot eat every day, with half of Gaza's population starving. That is 6 News for now. You can of course stay up to date by heading to our website, SIXNewsAU.com, and by following us on social media at 6NewsAU. News is on the hour, every hour here on 6 News. For now, though, I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Thanks for your company. Good night.
When news breaks around the world, 6 News has got you covered. We stop at nothing.